Your dog is watching you. Not the way they watch a squirrel through the window or track a piece of food falling from the counter. This is different. You're putting on your shoes, picking up your bag, checking your phone one last time before you leave, and your dog has gone completely still. Their eyes are locked on you with an intensity that feels almost human. Most people assume this is simple separation anxiety, or maybe the dog recognizing a routine and feeling sad about being left alone. Both of these are real. Neither is what's actually happening. What's going through your dog's mind in this moment sounds nothing like either of those explanations, and the research reveals something far more complex about what they're experiencing as you walk toward that door. Number 1. Your dog is running a predictive algorithm in real time. In 2015, researchers at Emory University used fMRI imaging to watch what happens inside a dog's brain when their owner prepares to leave. They tested 37 dogs and found that the caudate nucleus, the part of the brain associated with reward, anticipation, and prediction, doesn't shut down when the owner starts the departure routine. It fires harder. Your dog isn't passively watching you leave. They're running calculations. Dr. Gregory Burns, who led the study, found that dogs showed the same neural pattern as humans do when trying to predict an uncertain future outcome. When you pick up your keys, your dog's brain is asking, "How long will you be gone? What are the chances you'll return? What do these specific signals mean about the duration of your absence?" A companion study at Duke University in 2017 added a critical layer. Researchers tested whether dogs could differentiate between short absences and long ones based on pre-departure cues. They found that 73% of dogs showed measurably different cortisol responses depending on whether their owner put on work clothes versus casual clothes, or picked up a briefcase versus a grocery bag. Your dog has built a database of your patterns. They know that certain combinations of behaviors predict 30-minute absences, while others predict 8-hour ones. When they watch you leave, they're not just sad. They're trying to determine which version of goodbye this is. Number 2. The neurochemical storm begins before you touch the door. What most people don't realize is that the stress response in dogs doesn't start when you leave. It starts when you begin the departure sequence, sometimes as early as when you wake up on a workday morning versus a weekend. A 2019 study by researchers at the University of Lincoln tested cortisol levels in 52 dogs at different points during their owner's departure routine. They found that cortisol began rising an average of 11 minutes before the owner actually left the house. By the time you're at the door saying goodbye, your dog's stress hormones have already peaked. This matters because it reframes what that final moment of eye contact means. Your dog isn't watching you leave and then becoming distressed. They've been managing rising distress for the past 10 minutes and are now watching to see if their predictions about your absence were correct. Dr. Teresa Wren at the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences found something even more specific in 2014. She measured heart rate variability in dogs during owner departures and discovered that the moment of actual separation, when the door closes, doesn't produce the highest stress spike. The highest spike occurs during what she called the inevitability window, the 90 to 120 seconds when the dog recognizes that departure is certain but hasn't happened yet. That's the moment you're seeing when your dog goes still and stares. They're not watching you leave. They're in the window where they know you're leaving, but you haven't left yet, and their nervous system is trying to prepare for the gap that's about to open. Number 3. Your dog experiences time perception differently during separation. The question of whether dogs experience time the way humans do has been studied extensively, and the findings complicate the simple narrative of a dog waiting sadly by the door. In 2011, Swedish researcher Teresa Wren conducted a study with 12 dogs, separating them from their owners for 30 minutes, 2 hours, and 4 hours. When owners returned, she measured the intensity of the dog's greeting behavior. Dogs separated for 2 hours greeted their owners with significantly more intensity than dogs separated for 30 minutes. But dogs separated for 4 hours showed almost the same greeting intensity as those separated for 2 hours. The researchers concluded that dogs likely don't experience a linear perception of time after a certain threshold. Your absence doesn't feel twice as long if you're gone for 4 hours versus 2. It just feels like long. A 2020 study at Northwestern University added crucial context. Researchers found that dogs have what's called episodic-like memory, meaning they can recall specific events, but their time tagging of those memories is imprecise. Your dog remembers you leaving. They remember you returning. But the space between those two events doesn't organize itself into hours and minutes the way it does for you. From their perspective, when you're gone, they're existing in an undefined state of not here yet that doesn't accumulate in a measurable way. This is why dogs react with intense joy whether you've been gone for 20 minutes or 6 hours. The duration matters less than the binary state change from absent to present. Number 4. The attachment system is calibrated to your specific nervous system. In 2018, researchers at the University of Vienna published findings that shifted how scientists understand the dog-human bond. They tested 61 dogs and their owners using something called the Strange Situation Test, originally designed to measure attachment in human infants. They found that dogs don't just bond with humans generally. They bond with the specific regulatory presence of their primary caregiver. When your dog watches you leave, what they're losing isn't just companionship. It's the external regulation of their own nervous system that your presence provides. Dr. Lisa Horn, who led the study, found that dogs showed elevated cortisol and reduced exploratory behavior when separated from their primary caregiver, but not when separated from a familiar but secondary person. The bond is not transferable. Your specific voice, your specific patterns of movement, your specific way of responding to them, these have become part of how your dog maintains internal equilibrium. A follow-up study in 2021 used heart rate monitors to track what happens in the minutes after an owner leaves. Researchers found that a dog's heart rate becomes more variable and less organized, a sign that they've lost access to the co-regulating presence that helps them maintain baseline calm. When your dog stares at you as you leave, part of what they're doing is trying to hold on to the regulating effect of your presence for as long as possible before they have to manage their own nervous system alone. Number 5. What your return means is not what you think it means. The reunion moment has been studied as intensively as the departure, and it reveals something unexpected about what your dog experiences during your absence. In 2016, researchers at Azabu University in Japan measured oxytocin levels in dogs before, during, and after separation from their owners. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, dropped during separation as expected. But here's what surprised researchers. It surged to levels higher than baseline within 90 seconds of the owner's return, higher even than during active play or petting sessions. Your return doesn't just end your dog's distress. It creates a neurochemical reward state that's more potent than almost any other experience available to them. Dr. Takefumi Kikasui, who led the research, found that this oxytocin spike was specific to the primary caregiver's return. When a stranger entered, oxytocin rose slightly. When a familiar secondary person entered, it rose moderately. When the primary caregiver returned, it spiked to what Kikusui described as pair bonding levels comparable to what we see in human romantic attachments. This means your dog isn't just happy you're home. They're experiencing something closer to what humans feel during moments of profound connection or relief. The intensity of that greeting, the spinning and jumping and inability to contain themselves, that's not just excitement. That's a neurochemical flood of pair bond confirmation that your dog has been physiologically anticipating since you left. The next time you're standing at your door, keys in hand, and you see your dog watching you with that particular stillness, here's what's actually happening. Their caudate nucleus is running predictions about how long you'll be gone based on a database of patterns they've built from watching you hundreds of times before. Their cortisol levels have been climbing for the past 10 minutes and are about to peak in the next 90 seconds, during the inevitability window, when they know you're leaving, but you haven't left yet. They're not experiencing the upcoming separation as a countdown of hours and minutes, but as an undefined state of not here yet that will persist until the binary switches back to here. The regulatory presence you provide to their nervous system is about to go offline, which means they'll need to manage their own equilibrium without the co-regulating effect of your voice, your movement, your responses. And underneath all of this runs the certainty, built from every single time you've come back before, that your return will create a neurochemical reward state more intense than almost anything else in their life. Your dog isn't wondering if you'll come back. They know you will. What they're doing in this moment is preparing to exist in the gap, running the calculations, managing the rising stress, and holding on to your presence for as long as they can before the door closes. This is not simple separation anxiety. This is a complex cognitive and physiological process that reflects the depth of the bond you've built. If you found this perspective shift valuable, subscribe for more research-backed insights into what's really happening inside your dog's mind. And in the comments, tell me, what specific behavior does your dog show right before you leave? The science suggests those patterns mean more than we typically assume.